The doctor actually laughed at us when we questioned the safety of vaccines. We went to our first well baby visit with a doctor, and the doctor said, hey, you need to get your first vaccines for this little newborn. So we kind of asked a few questions, and the doctor, looking back now, I know so much more. I wish I had known then. The doctor actually laughed at us when we questioned the safety of vaccines. We were just hearing little rumblings at that point. We're like, are these safe? Like, do we know we're safe? And the doctor said something very condescending, like, hey, if you want your child to stay alive, you're going to get the vaccines or something like that. So we just kind of said, okay.
This wasn't really that long ago, right? So what year was this?
This was 2005. So we went ahead and we got the vaccines. As he said, he told us, the nurse is going to come in with he said with 2 shots. The nurse proceeded to come in and she gave the baby 3 shots. Now, when you're mom and dad holding down the screaming, struggling baby, every single shot that goes into that baby. So we're like, no, that was 3 shots. We know it. We felt each one, We didn't really think anything of it. We just thought, oh, the doctor misspoke. The experts know what they're doing, right? So we went home and the baby had a vaccine reaction that night. He screamed, our oldest son screamed all night long. Didn't sleep, feverish, terrible reaction. And so we called the office the next morning, and lo and behold, they had only recorded 2 shots. This isn't even about vaccines for us so much. It's more that we saw this happening. We saw that 3rd shot go into the baby, and we never even questioned it because we were such good patients, right? We were such good students. We had been trained to just trust the expert and let them do the thinking, and we just deal with the repercussions of it. But this was such a moment for us to wake up and go, we still don't know what was given to our son. Luckily, he recovered completely. You can bet, though, what we did after that was we dove in and we started researching. And it started with vaccines, but it really quickly moved to food. And we started realizing what we were eating and what we were buying from the store. We just were like, oh, we can't feed our family this food. This is not how we want to eat. We really want to give our children and ourselves really the gift of robust health. And that just wasn't going to happen if we weren't stepping in and really stepping into the driver's seat of our own story and getting out of that passenger seat where we're just like, okay, we'll just do what we're told. And so that for us actually was the beginning of homesteading. It was like sparks started flying off of that. And then we started realizing, the delivery systems of just-in-time groceries. And we realized, really what was going on in the medical industry. And we really started looking at the education side of things and even the entertainment side. And it just kind of blew our world open to realize we're going to have to be really intentional to navigate life in our modern world in a way that gives us a healthy existence ourselves, but also gives our children physical health, but also mental and spiritual health. That is not what's being offered to us. And so we're going to have to do this really intentionally and be really careful about what we do. I think now looking back where we're sitting here in 2024 and looking at the state of the world, we go, phew. Thank you that we got those early warning signs and we really heeded that call. But doing that sent us on a whole different life trajectory than we had been on at that point.
I mean, that's incredible. So you've been on this journey, going on 20 years. Can you share a little bit more detail, though? What was your life like then? So you guys, I guess even a little bit further back, how do you get from pre that to now you actually own your own homestead?
We definitely aren't coming from generational homesteading for Josh and I, but both of us do have some experience in our childhood. We had some experience with animals, a little bit with gardening, and a little bit with country life. We both had a childhood that took us in and out of the city at different periods of our life. But, when we got married, we were living in the suburbs of Los Angeles. We were in a 2nd-story apartment building. I think there was a little bit of we were country kids at heart, but we hadn't ever really learned that lifestyle all the way around. I was into horseback riding, so I knew a lot about horseback riding and about horses. My mom had always kept a few chickens here and there, and she'd have a garden wherever we lived, whether we lived in the city or wherever, just for a couple of fresh vegetables. But Josh had worked on a cattle ranch. So he knew a little bit more about livestock and had spent quite a bit more time out in the country as a boy. But we didn't really know anything about growing your own food to survive off of, to actually fill your pantries, fill your freezers, and to be able to consume it and live off of it and really reduce the need to go to the grocery store. We certainly didn't know anything about herbal medicine or some of the natural modalities of medicine. So there was a really big learning curve for us. At the point where the story happens that I was telling you about having our first child, we had actually gotten to move away from the suburbs of Los Angeles back up into our hometown in the mountains. And we were on this little, I think is a little smaller than a 1/4 acre lot. We had this tiny little house. It was so cute. Great little starting spot. But we did have a little bit of room for a little bit of a garden out back, and we raised a few chickens. So we actually really learned a lot in that particular place. For the most part, we were really starting from scratch.
What were your jobs at the time? I mean, imagine if you were in LA or what were you doing?
Yeah, Josh was in construction. He had his own company that he had started doing finished carpentry in homes in the Hollywood area and West LA. So really kind of upper end homes way out on the coast. I was a teacher, 4th grade teacher at a private Christian school. And then once we were getting close to our first child being born, I went ahead and stopped work at school and started doing his bookkeeping for him for the construction business and trying to figure out how to do that, which was mind-blowing to me. I didn't know anything about construction or bookkeeping, so I had to learn multiple new things, plus learning how to work with your spouse is a whole skill all by itself, I think. That was quite of a journey we were on, but again, it really had nothing to do with homesteading or farming or anything like that.
Did you lose any friends as you started going down this path, where people were like, you're weird, or what are you doing?
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of people who had no idea what we were doing. Our life just started to change. In Southern California, you have one child and then you have a second child. And it was okay, you're done now, especially a boy and a girl. People think, hey, that was tidy, wrap that up. And then we just kept having kids and and people just did not know what to do with that.
They're like, are you Mormon? They're like, what is going on here?
Definitely. Yeah, we got a lot of that sort of question. Are you Mormon or Catholic? And we were like, can we check other? we don't fall into those boxes. It was definitely a very refining moment for us in a lot of ways because most people didn't get it. Now, there were a few who were very interested and wait, what are you doing? I've always wanted to do that. How do you do that? Will you show me? It became a passion for Josh and I to actually share with people who were interested but didn't know how to find the resources to learn. And that's something that I've always been very good at, is researching and finding resources, even if they're pretty obscure. And so I just determined that I wanted to take that skill to learn things, take the time to learn them myself, and then to be able to help other people who either didn't have the time to do the research or didn't know how or didn't have the resources, and to start teaching them how to do the same things.
If you enjoyed the clip from the podcast, make sure to check out the next video up here or head over to watch the full episode down here. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come on. Yeah, thanks for watching.